What's up, guys? It's BC Builds again. Just want to show you guys a few things I bought on eBay not that long ago. We'll start off maybe about a week and a half ago. Well, actually about 3 weeks ago, I ordered a Stealth rotary. It's just the original Stealth. Not the Stealth Light or the Stealth 2, and I ordered it. It's my first experience with a rotary, well, actually tattooing somebody with a rotary, and I actually liked it. That's what I've been using for lining, just because the thing is so fucking light. And it came with the 3 bearings, which I have happened to lose. Well, the 2 extra ones, I cannot find them for my fucking life. So I had to order another one, and since the machine was, I liked it. I hear a lot of bad reviews about the Stealth and the motor. I was thinking about ordering a second one because people say they have issues, and I'd like to have a backup one or one I could use as a shader. As I tried it out with the 4mm, and it worked pretty nice as a color packer too. You got to be careful because, like everybody says, they have no give. But searching on the internet, I found knockoffs. I did some, research on them, and I bought the best quality Chinese knockoffs. Not really the best. The paint job sucks on them. It's already coming off. I ordered these off of a store called Yallstore, Yallstore, on eBay. And getting them right out the box, they're not the same quality as a Stealth. Stealth's 100 and... I paid for the whole kit $95, but I'm a member on Worldwide Tattoo. I don't think if you remember, I think it's like $125. So let's just say it's $125 because most people watching this don't have a license and they're probably not going to be a member of the site, and so they're going to pay more. But I decided to order these. You never know. I've got lucky with some knockoff shit before. I have a knockoff Dragonfly that I've never used. My boss has it now, and he actually uses it. It's his first rotary ever. But first off, I did encounter a few problems with it right off the bat. The tube vise, the arm, was crooked on it, which was a 30-second fix, was bending it back. And the actual tube vise, the guillotine clamp on it, the screw in it stripped out within fucking 20 minutes of playing with it. So I had a major issue there. Thank God I had an extra guillotine vise in my toolbox. I actually have a couple of them. It's not wide enough. It still works fine though. I gotta order a replacement. Actually, when I ordered the bearings, I had also ordered a few new tube vices. I actually ordered 2 all-new tube vices. It's this whole bar and the whole setup that are meant for Stealth rotary that'll fit on this. They're just higher quality, and this one kind of bends. It was really easy for me to bend it in shape. God forbid I drop it, it'll bend back. Besides that, everything else except for the spring was good. See how it doesn't go back up? It'll stay down because there is supposed to be a spring that goes between the actual frame of it and the armature bar that pushes up. I'm not sure if it was the spring, how it was made, or too much tension. It wouldn't start unless it was at 8-9 volts at least. And I don't run this high. These seem to be pretty powerful. For lining, I was running at around 7.7, and I literally have to push it down to start it. Actually, the Cheyenne Hawk, which I have too, well, it's not mine, I borrowed somebody, actually has the same problem. Most people don't know that about the Cheyenne Hawk and the Thunder, that it takes 12 volts to start them. But in their actual power cords, the clip cords that come with them, because they have the mini jack, the reverse mini jack on them, it actually has a capacitor. So when you start it, it'll boost it, it'll jump it at 12 volts right off the bat. Now, I'm going to order one of those cables that have it in there and mod it to one of these machines so I don't have that problem. But for the time being, I just took the spring out and I'll drop it all the way down. This thing will start it, under 5 volts. This is 4.5. And it starts. And you could do some light shading with this at this level. It's not really fast enough, but it's possible if you want to go really slow. It still hits pretty hard. It bogs out okay. That's really low. That's 4.5. You know, it's not as quiet as my Stealth, but it's still, I don't even know if you guys are going to be able to hear this. Everything else on this is pretty nice. It's not high quality aluminum. It is CNC'd aluminum. I can tell that much from when I looked on the inside of it, the guide markers. I get the other one. I did order 2 of them. They were $10, so $20 a pop. I'm not a big fan of knockoff stuff. You know, well, coil machines, I don't mind knockoff frames because I always put decent parts on them. Rotaries, I was never a big fan of, you know, knockoff versions just because I knew nothing about them and I didn't know if I was going to be able to fix them. But after buying the Stealth and comparing the Stealth to these, honestly, these do the same job. Given the Stealth is a little better, a little smoother. It doesn't, you know, just because this sounds a little louder, it doesn't really affect the performance all that much. Let me put it back up. This actually has a bearing in the cam, a cam bearing. It doesn't have a bearing up top, which I would like. It just is sandwiched with a washer. Still works fine. The grommet will wear out eventually. The motor is equivalent to what's in a Stealth. They're both Japanese motors. The Stealth doesn't have a Swiss motor, so I don't presume this motor being a problem. And even if so, I stopped at Radio Shack, and they sell these motors for $4 a pop, and they're better quality motors than what's in here. So I picked one of those up. If it burns out, I got an extra, super easy to replace. I don't like that it has the clip cord, but obviously I'm going to change that, put my little mini jack on it like I've done all my coil machines. And also what I liked about these is because on my Stealth machine I lost all the other bearings and I have it on a 2mm, which is what I've been using for lining, and I wanted something for color packing and possibly for shading. And these knockoffs came from Y'all Store. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it all that well. I'll do it with this one without the grommet on it so you can see the needle bar. These have a super long, these are a 4mm throw on them. You know, and usually the longer the throw, the more the machine should vibrate, and it's still very little. You know, this one's making more noise. I'm not sure why, because I don't think I tightened down the thing very well. And it's always quieter when it has the needle bar in it. But that's at 6.6 volts. Hitting a little hard. But that 6.6 volts is more than enough to pack color with this thing. This actually seems to be a little stronger than my Stealth. I think the bearings or the motor is actually stronger. You know, for shits and giggles, I took this whole the cam, the arm, and then the cam bearing out, and I put it on my Stealth. So I was using the same amount of stroke, and at 6 volts, this one was hitting harder, a knockoff. You know, doesn't say this is better because it really doesn't matter. This heats up a little quicker. I ran them overnight, both of them. The Stealth was not nearly as hot as this was. I ran them for about 5 hours, and this was decently hot, and the Stealth was so-so. But that's with any kind of, you know, motor. You run it that long, it's going to heat up. Even coils. So, I know I'm not big on condoning Chinese knockoffs because it takes money out of American builders, but this is pretty nice. In every way, it's comparable to my Stealth. The only problems I had, you know, was the 2 vise, which was a 30-second fix. If you can't fix that, shouldn't be tattooing. And the spring, and that was super easy to take out. Now, the only downfall not having the spring is, I'll show you guys here, is when you let off the foot pedal, the needle doesn't always go back in. Sometimes the armature bar will land down, middle, or in the top. You never know where it's going to land. So you might have the needle sticking out. There's a lot of people I know that tattoo right off the needle, is which I'm getting at now, which I'm being forced to learn, just to improve my skill level. And at that point it doesn't matter, because no matter what you do, your needle's going to be sticking out a little bit. But the problem with it sticking out is when you're going to put it down, a lot of people are careless, trying to get the tattoo over with towards the end, you know, just dropping machines. You can loop your needle or barb your needle or whatever you want to call it, and then you can tear up skin. As long as you pay attention and put it down correctly or put it in your stand without catching it, you'll be fine. I see a lot of people that have those acrylic stands, which I'm not really a big fan of, just for the fact that you could barb your needles. And why buy one of those when you could just put paper towels down or whatever you guys fucking use, barrier film, and that's it. Why do you need to buy a separate stand? So for fucking $10 a piece, they run amazingly well. They hit super hard. They don't have any give to them or minimal amount that it wouldn't make a difference. So I would recommend, if anybody was going to buy a rotary of this kind, buy a Stealth, a real one. They're just better machines. If you don't have the money, these do run well. Don't get me wrong, they make a lot of versions of this knockoff, and I was lucky enough to get this one. What was it, luck? I spent hours looking at the pictures and zooming in and doing as much research as I could, and actually found the manufacturer of these in Shenwan, China. And these are one of the better knockoffs. Still not as nice as a Stealth, but it still works. Another knockoff, I think it was made by Swash Drive Jackhammer or Jackhammer brand. I'm not sure. I've never really seen people use too many of these. You just see them all over eBay. This was like $9.99 with free shipping, and it came out of New Jersey, both of them, so they came to me within a day and a half. You know, it's where I live. This one has a much shorter stroke on it. This is about, it's not, I don't think it's 2 millimeters, but I don't think it's 1.5. It's probably 1.7. Maybe it's 2. Let's just say 2 for shits and giggles. I'm trying to find a piece of paper. Hold on. Just a little foam I was using. I used to use foam sheets like this for lining practice. I still have them. I might use them to check out the needles. That's got a really short stroke, and you hear it makes funny noises when you bog it down. It still runs and hits hard when you do that. Just it's a $10 machine. This one just makes noises. I haven't used it on a person yet, but I did use it on some fake skin in this foam to check it out. And this at 6 volts runs pretty nice lines. It's equivalent, I'd say, at about 6 volts at about 140 cycles per second, 130, 140 is what it would be. Power supply won't tell me because it's rotary, obviously, but I kind of did the equations, the RPMs. This works with, has a bearing, actually does have an ABAC 3 bearing, which really isn't that nice in here. And basically what they do is they, I guess either glued or soldered this post in, but they put it in crooked, so when it spins, the whole bearing will do this, and it lifts the bar up and down. This whole bar has nothing to do with give like on the actual Swash Drive Gen 8. This is just to keep the whole thing from spinning. It wouldn't spin fast because there's a bearing, but this would move around. This part just keeps it in place. It goes up and down, so it'll move with the bearing, but it doesn't let it go side to side. This is a steel. This is steel. It's not aluminum, so this is a considerable. You would think this would be heavier. This is aluminum, and I think this is some sort of cast steel or maybe CNC steel. I don't think it's CNC'd. So this is heavier. This has a much bigger motor though. You can see the motor goes from here to here. It's not as wide as the whole machine. I had another motor. I went out and bought another motor at Radio Shack too when I bought these. It's the same size motor, actually a little tiny bit bigger, longer. This is a nice motor. It's got a ball bearing in it, and on the inside, this was like $15. I found it at Radio Shack in the back of the drawer. This is fucking maybe 2 to 18 volts. This is a really powerful motor. It's not as nice as a Swiss Maxim, but this motor is actually made in the U.S. But this has a considerably bigger motor, so it does have a lot more power, and I assume it'll last longer. And the fact that this has a real bearing, like something you'd see in a skateboard, the bearing shits out. I could easily fucking replace it. I actually have one of my old skateboards. I started pulling the wheel out. It has Lucky number 7, ABAC 7 bearings in it that I never really used. I bought them years ago and then stopped skateboarding when I broke my arm. So it has nice bearings that I'm going to put in here, but for the time being, all the bearings on all 3 of these shit rotaries and my Stealth, I used waterproof graphite oil. I'm not sure how sanitary that is. You know, obviously I'm going to bag my machines up and then clean them all down, but it's a really good lubricant, and it's non-caustic, and that's usually what I use to oil my blades on my knives and just random other things. All my other electronic projects that have motors, I've always used the graphite waterproof oil, so I figured why not with this. I don't have any special rotary oil, you know, that some machines come with. In case you guys were curious, both of these machines have been running at 6.6 volts. I'm not sure the hertz. I'm assuming on the Stealth knockoff it was probably around maybe 100. This one's 140-ish, 130, 140. So if you guys want to just try a rotary, you know, and not spend a lot of money off the bat, definitely buy one of these. I'll run this one, which is loaded. Yeah, this is a lining needle. Forget what I put in here. It's a 7-round long taper. Brand, I forget what fire. I think an Element Tattoo Supply brand needle. So it's a nice needle. Disposable tube. I didn't want to have to wash and fucking, well, not wash, autoclave one if I opened one of my steels and brought it home. I have this steel grip that I just, you know, it's an old one I don't use. I put it on all my disposables, you know, when I'm testing them, just for weight purposes. It's got a little balking, so a tiny bit of give. But you can see how much needle throw there is. It's fucking ridiculous. See it? It's almost all the way in, just a tiny bit out, and so that's a fucking lot. You know, that's definitely for a color packer or a fucking heavy shader, in my opinion. But that's what I'm intending to use this as a color packer. You know, because color usually, I'm not a big fan of rotaries. I'm still going to use my coils every day, but color usually just takes longer because you got a big area to fucking color or solid black, and after an hour or so, your fucking hands going numb from that coil of machines slapping around, and it's mad annoying. You know, line work, I'm still going to use my coil because it has give, but for color packing, just straight color packing or solid black, I'm going to use my Stealth or this one. My Stealth, I've been using this lining. I'm still not sure on how my shit's going to heal. I've only had it a week and a couple days at this point, so I'm not sure how the tattoos are going to heal. They look nice, everything seemed nice, but you never fucking know until it's healed. I just like it because it has no vibration and it's super light, so for longer tattoos. But I think for the majority of the tattoos I do, line-wise, I'm going to use my coil machines. It's easier to do bloodlines with them, and, you know, easier for me to sculpt. This is just, they hit seriously hard and have no give. I'm not used to it. For color packing, with me, it really doesn't matter because my color packers hit just as hard as a fucking rotary. That was never really intentional. It just kind of worked out that way, so I have to kind of dumb them down a little bit. But yeah, if you guys want to try out a rotary and don't want to spend $100+, try one of these. I'll put up the link to the eBay store. It was $10, free shipping. It's out of New Jersey. I'm pretty sure you can find the same one in California if that's where you guys are or wherever. The seller does ship international, so if you guys want it, I'm not sure what the price is. I've actually ordered from this eBay store quite a few times. Sometimes they have good deals. Sometimes they have shit that frames, actual cast iron frames. What they say it is. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they are. It's the same store I got this frame from, which is my new Biggie Smalls liner. If you guys wonder why I call it that, it's a really tall frame, a heavy frame, with some little shorty coils on it, which I've used a few times. It's a nice liner. Things run, it's really nice. But I got this frame from them, which is actually cast iron, which kind of makes no sense to me. The only reason you would make a frame this tall, you know, because I think it's 1 3/4 inches, is because it was an alloy frame and you need to put a yoke in. That's usually why they make taller frames, is to compensate for the yoke. It's an iron machine, you don't need a yoke, so why make it that tall? That's what baffles me. You see, I still have a yoke in there, so it's not because I'm lying about this being an alloy or anything. It is cast iron. It's fully fucking cast. I just needed the yoke in it to raise it up, because these are actually smaller than an inch. They're 0.8 something inch. These came off a Luo's tattoo machine, which they're technically 1-inch shorty coils. And I had to put mad washers in, and I also used the yoke to raise it up too and make it even. I actually already did. I was going to use binder stock, which is just basically binding posts that haven't been milled and drilled yet. I was going to drill those out and use those as, make like a candlestick design or something, or, hourglass design for the posts to make these stilted coils. But what I actually did is I had an old pair of shit coils and I cut them. And I'm just going to use the old coil cores as stilts on this. They're not going to be attached to this, but they'll look like it. I'm not going to weld them or solder them. They're just going to go in, screw them in, and screw them to this. But I haven't got around to taking it apart yet. But quality frame. The only problem I had with this frame is I had to file down this spring saddle to make it even. It was just a tiny bit off. Also the same site I got these Luo's tattoo machines from, which still to this day I use this one for fine shading. Not as much as I want to. I'm so stuck in my ways using my other machines, my one-offs. Well, I didn't build them, my other one-offs, my workhorse irons. But I do force myself to use this every now and then, and all my tattoos I've done with this so far have come out beautiful. But I don't use it as much as, I would like to. It's just stuck in my head. I paid so much money for my workhorse machines that I don't want to use a fucking $40 machine, even though it runs just as well. That's about it, guys. Any other questions? And I had somebody, I think it was on Facebook, ask me what kind of power supply I had. You can see it's got all the graphics on it. It's some sort of graffiti graphic. This is a knockoff Element supply off of eBay. I needed fucking power supply for home. We use Critical at work. I didn't really want to spend $300 on another Critical one. I can get it for like $150 through work. I didn't really want to spend that much money, so I went on eBay, the same store I got these from. Y'all store, I got this for $30. And it works just as well. This tells me the hertz, everything. The voltage is 100% accurate. I hooked it up to 3 of my multimeters. 100% accurate. It's not a dual power supply, and it doesn't have any settings in it, but it works. It tells you the hertz, the duty, the follow through. Everything is actually accurate on this. The power coming out, the DC is very constant. The parts in it are kind of quality. The Chinese parts, but they're good Chinese parts, all the capacitors and shit in them. But for a power supply for home, for building machines and fucking around, I bought that for $30. I also do have another one, a Hurricane, which I'm not a big fan of. Hurricanes don't run rotaries, and my Hurricane, I see people all over fucking YouTube talking about Hurricanes. Everybody has one. Maybe it's just mine. The power on my Hurricane is so fucking inconsistent. I'll make another video on it. You hook up my multimeter to it, and it'll say 7.4 on the Hurricane, and it's really 6. And then, it'll go up and down and around. It's a fucking headache. So I use this, which was fucking like $30 cheaper, and a Chinese brand knockoff, and it works fucking